Hi guys, it's Tracy again from Red Wind Studio, and so this is part 3 of stamping the tabletop with the wood plank IOD. So which IOD stands for Iron Orchid Designs, just in case you don't know. So just to recap what I've done so far, I painted the tabletop in a custom color. It was a combination of parchment, coconut, and chocolate, and then I used cast iron to use stamps. Now these aren't the ones that I used. They were bigger ones, and they're in the other room drying right now because I've just washed them. But basically you roll the paint on, you lay it down, pull it up, and just repeat and repeat with the different designs until you get the desired look that you want. Now it is looking pretty flat and not very inspiring at this point. So the next step for me that I feel I need to do is to give it a light sanding. So I've got my 220 grit sandpaper here, and I'm just going to lightly go over it. Now by doing this, it helps soften it up, softens the lines up a little bit. And I wasn't using ink, I was using actually paint. So it was cast iron fat paint is what I used to do the stamping. Take my handy dandy rag, and it is ever so barely damp, barely. Now because there are grooves in the tabletop, because it originally did look like they were planks, I want to make sure that I get the dust out of these spaces. Now you could use a brush. I don't have one handy right now. I'd have to walk over there, and since it's my table, it's okay that I blow on it. Get all the dust out of there. I'm gonna get lightheaded here in a second. Okay, so that is all dusted off. I want to sand that a little bit more. I find it's a little rough here. The paint's a little bit thick, so I'm feeling a little bit too much texture, and I don't like that. So I'm going to sand it down a little bit more. That's the nice thing about using chalk paint or a chalk style paint. It's really, really easy to sand. just running my hand over where I've stamped to double check the texture, because I don't really want any. If you'd like having texture so that it feels more rustic, certainly go ahead and leave that. There we go. Okay, so the next step, I want to create more depth, make it look a little bit more realistic, and the way it is right now, it doesn't, in my opinion. So what I'm going to do, in order to play with glazes, I need to seal this off first. If I just start slapping glazes on here, the glazes are just going to absorb into the paint, and they're just going to sit where I put them, and I'm not going to be able to play and move them around and create that depth that I want to. So the next step is to get out a clear top coat of some kind. I am out of the Fat Paint Company's clear top coat, which is in between a satin and a matte. So I am going with the Varathane brand instead, and I'm going with satin. It's a satin finish, so it's not overly shiny. It's going to give me a little bit more. These currently right now in the place that we're living, I have one of these in my living room. I have a very, 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 very tiny living room, and the rest of the set, the coffee table is in the living room, and the other one of these plus a sofa table is down in the basement, unfinished basement. So these are going to be going. I'm not sure where they're going to go. We just bought a new house. The house isn't new. It'll be new to us. And we're going to be moving in a couple of months. So I don't know exactly where these are going to go yet, whether they're going to go into the living room or whether they're going to go into the family room. I'm suspecting that they're going to go into the living room, just with the way the layout is and how furniture is going to be set up. I'm thinking that this is going to be in our living room. So that being said, it probably won't get an awful lot of abuse in there, but the polyurethane is going to give it good durability. So if any of my teenage boys decide to be a little abusive towards it, it will stand up a little bit better with this. And my boys aren't all that abusive, so they're not wild and crazy teenage boys. They're pretty quiet, and they're good kids. So if my oldest was still at home, he was a good kid too. He was an athlete, and he was his nickname was the Beast. So if that gives you any indication of what he was like, he liked to horse around and show off his strength and stuff like that. So when he was 12, I had to tell him that we couldn't horse around anymore because he picked me up and threw me over one of our large chairs in the living room. So we used to roughhouse quite a bit, but that stopped when he turned 12 because I couldn't, I thought he was going to break me. So, but yes, so if you're going to be doing furniture and you want a little bit more durability than say using wax, then I would suggest using polyurethane or a clear top coat over it. So that's what I'm doing now, is I'm just doing really, really thin coat of the poly, and like I said, there's grooves in here, so I'm just really lightly, because I want to make sure that I'm not depositing the polyurethane into these grooves. And if I get some in there, I need to make sure that it's not pooling, because it won't dry clear otherwise. So I'm just doing nice long even strokes along here, making sure that it is evenly distributed. And I like to use a foam brush to do that. You don't want to work it too much. You want to get it on and leave it alone. Just like so. Get some on here, and I'm just going to pull it along and then do the edge. To try and look at it at different angles, because sometimes it's really hard to see if you missed a spot. Do the front here. And again, it doesn't look like much at this point, in my opinion. Again, it's just looking pretty flat and two-dimensional, I guess. It's not looking realistic enough for me, so we need to get, because real wood has more variations in it in color, so I need to play with some glazes and get some depth and character happening with it. So that is going to happen tomorrow. This needs to dry for a few hours. Looks like I missed a spot up here. So tomorrow I'll come back and I'll work on it some more, and I'll mix up some glazes. I have one. It's a smidge darker than the paint color. I don't know if you can see that. It was one that I had kicking around. I could never ever recreate this, so I have to make sure that I make enough of each one for the 4 pieces that I have at home. Well, one here and then the other 3 are at home. And the coffee table and sofa table actually fold like this, and then they fold open, so they get to be quite large. So I have to be able to do both sides and then the inside, and there's a lot to paint and stamp and all that stuff. So I need to make sure that I've got enough of this. So this one was, according to the lid, was coconut and dove, and I added a little bit more coconut to it to darken it up a little bit. I might tweak it a little bit more because I'm thinking it's just a little too close to that. So I'm going to play with it a little bit. I might use a little bit of chocolate. I'm not sure yet what I'm going to do, but like I said, it's always an experiment with me, and if I don't like it, then I try something different. But anyways, tomorrow I will be back. I'll keep playing with it, get it to look the way I want to, and then I have to recreate each one over again on 3 other pieces of furniture. So wish me luck. Hope I see you back on here tomorrow and follow along and see how this all turns out. Thanks guys. See you later.